In our final lesson, we're going to look at some common fabric textures that can really tie our work together. Leather can become a soft pair of pants or a sturdy halter for a horse. Denim may be used for a thinly woven shirt or a tough pair of jeans. And lace is often seen as tablecloths in still life compositions. These textures incorporate many of the techniques you've already learned, but have one or more specific characteristics that we'll cover. In this lesson, you'll learn how to combine shiny techniques with light crease lines to illustrate leather, how to study folds, creases, and stitches of fabric, and how to practice negative drawing as you render lace. Leather, denim, and lace help create specific moods and are very common in portraits, so they're helpful for artists to know. It's important to determine what mood you want to create, and fabric helps convey that. Let's start with leather. It's an interesting texture for artists. You'll find it in leather seats of cars, luxury clothing and accessories, and tack in the equestrian world. We see shiny and sleek leather along with older, distressed leather, and often this fabric has decorative stitching and exaggerated creases from years of wear. Think of fancy cowboy boots as well as old saddles and halters. Let me show you how to take a leather strap and add some creases and buckle holes. What I have here in this sample is a strap that I've added browns to, some blacks, some reddish browns, and burnished with white. Now that I have this wonderful surface, I'm going to texturize it with a few creases. So to start, I'm taking my dark umber pencil with a sharp point and just lightly drawing in a crease. I have the option to get rid of that if I don't like the placement. I can just simply sweep my white pencil over it. But I do like the placement, so now I'm going to bear down on it a little bit more. Sort of that carving technique I had told you about earlier. So here I go, I'm carving a crease in there. I'll carve another one right below it. Sharp, dark umber point. Dark umber is my brownest brown. Okay, now I want to add some depth to it. In order to do that, I need to put a white line underneath it. Just like that. I'm using my white, very thin pencil, which affords me some stronger wax. My point isn't as likely to break. I'm going to touch a little black to it right in the center for more depth. And then to blend it into the leather itself so that we don't see these stark lines, I'm taking my chocolate pencil and sweeping it over very lightly, 1 to 2 pressure, just to add a little warmth and match the surrounding color. So that's the technique for getting creases. Let's talk about how you're going to add depth to a buckle hole. First, I'm going to take my dark umber and just really cover that entire interior. Using 3 to 4 pressure, just coloring it in with small elliptical strokes. I look at my photo and I see that there's a black section in there. And I know that my regular black is probably not going to give me that rich, deep black that I want. So I grab my Stabilo black and I put that in. You see how that just grabs, it just jumps right out. It's such a nice, rich black. Okay, and around there, I see some reddish brown. So actually, I think I colored in a little bit too much there. I want to give you more form. Okay, taking my Tuscan red pencil, and now I'm adding some red here around that black. I'm going to intensify the black area just a little bit more. And now, I think I'm going to bring back the chocolate pencil, because we have so much fun with that. Okay, so we have that interior. Now we need to bring a little highlight in, and that is where we just put a few markings just around the edge, right there. And maybe just right around the bottom here to say, hey, there's some dimension even though it's a hole. And there you have it. Let's look at fabric now. It folds, creases, and drapes in interesting ways that lets us play with shadow and light and show a lot of interesting detail. When we do portraits, we usually deal with fabric. Denim is a good choice for this because it's a great common fabric and has a variety of textures and colors for us to study. We recognize immediately when we see that iconic blue color, along with the double stitching over collars, pockets, and side seams. There are dark and light blue puckers between the stitching that are important to draw. Let me show you on this denim pocket. I have a few colors of blue already layered on here. I've outlined some stitches with yellow ochre, and so now I'm going to take a small swatch and burnish the colors together with my white pencil. I'm using 3 to 4 pressure, increasing to 5 pressure, and small elliptical strokes. Taking care to go around those stitches. But even if I go into them, it's okay because those are the final step with an outline. So I'm blending and blurring those colors together. Just like that. We'll do one more section where we've got another row of stitching. Okay, so do you see where we have these 3 random dark blue shapes separated by white swatches? That is what tells us that there are blue puckers, which then conveys to us that this is a denim fabric. So that's what we're going to create. I'm using my ultramarine blue pencil, and I'm just going to throw in a shape. Just let's make it go down because the one above it went up. I'll cover that with Blue Lake. Blending it in, blurring it in. Maybe hit it again with that ultramarine. And do it again. Have this particular pucker head up in a little notched form. And maybe this one will go straight across. Take my blue pencil, sharpen it, add it over. I'm pushing it in now to burnish it, blend it, morph it into the fabric itself. Okay, now I'm going to create some dimension by taking my white Stabilo pencil. This is that pencil that is graphite, chalky, pastel-y type of filler in here, and it's a little bit more effective than the Prismacolor and the Faber-Castell pencils to give me that nice white punch up of color here. Okay, so I have it, I have the shape, but it's not looking super realistic because we need to blend the blues into it. Very softly, just transitioning that. Very softly. And if I need to heighten the color, I'll go back in with my ultramarine, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I extend it out past the stitches, because as you can see, that's what is happening right here and on the blue jean pocket itself. Just kind of doing my own thing here. You'll follow the photo a little closer, but I just want to show you in this sample what the basic technique is. Blend this down. And you'll keep blending. You'll be going back and forth, back and forth. You may even want to add a little denim blue. There's a pencil that's called Denim Blue. And whenever you add color, you do need to take it down a bit, just so that you keep that smoothness consistent. Okay, so a little blending and blurring, a little bit more would be in order, but let me just show you how you're going to finish this. Take one of those stitches, go around it with your burnt ochre, because we see a lot of stitching that has a little bit of orange to it or a little bit of yellow. We're going to take our burnt ochre pencil and then with some white, drag a little bit of that burnt ochre, which is sort of a soft orange, into the stitch itself. You'll see this lining all the way down here. That's important because that lifts the pocket from the underlying material. So you would create that line with a sharp point. Again, the white Stabilo pencil is great for that. I happen to have a white Prisma in my hand, so I'm going to continue with that. The point is dull, and that's why it's not resisting me with the pressure. And then let's finish it off with pretending that we've got some fabric underneath there, which we really do. And there you have it. The basic technique for adding puckers and stitches to convey denim. Let's look at lace now. I chose it because you'll often see it used in still life compositions. The technique I'm going to show you also applies to linen that has cutout patterns. Creating delicate lace patterns is not as hard as it may seem. It involves a technique called negative drawing, which is coloring in those cutout areas around the white lace to define the form of the lace itself. Those areas are holes that reveal whatever lies beneath them, whether it's a wood table, another fabric, or a person's skin. In this still life, you can see that the lace is uniformly white, except in the shadowed areas. Let me show you how to create this look. In this swatch that I have right here, I've layered 2 colors of gray. I'm using my Cool Gray palette by Prismacolor, and I've got 10% down and I have 50% down. And it's simply establishing a little bit of gray to surround these dark, dark holes that really form the lace. In order to make this believable, we need to do some more blending and burnishing. So that's where I'm starting. My white Prismacolor pencil, 4 to 5 pressure, and I'm burnishing around the holes. I'm going to do a little section right here. Small elliptical strokes. We don't want to have any harsh directional lines. And you will get some debris. You just sweep it away with your drafting brush. Okay, so now we have this little section here. We need to create those holes there, and it's not just slapping black down or slapping brown down or whatever. You still want to have a combination of a few colors to give it that rich look. So I'll start with dark umber. Be careful when you outline these. Just because it's an odd looking pattern when you're actually establishing it doesn't mean that it's a blurry pattern. We are not blurring the dark into the light. These are very distinct forms. They are cutouts. So we need sharp edges. One of the biggest challenges in creating lace is being careful not to drag your color, your dark color, into the white of your lace. So here we go. I've bordered it with the dark umber. I'm filling it in. My pressure is 4 to 5. Now I'm going to hit it with some black. The reason I'm using black is because this was a very dark table. This was a dark mahogany table when I did this piece. And so it reads black to the eye. Okay, sharp lines, bordering it. You can relax a little bit when you get into the interior. Let's do one more. Line it with the dark umber. Fill it with the dark umber. Careful around those perimeters. Throw on some black. Burnish little circles. There we go, and call that hole done. But it's not just a question of black holes and white lace. No, lace kind of moves when you've got it as a tablecloth. And to create that movement, we need to put some shadows in there. Even if it's barely discernible, you still need to have some type of shadowing. So you look at your photo, you see in your photo there's some shadowing. All right, I see it in my photo. I'm going to try to render that. I'm using 50% cool gray over my burnished white, very lightly, going to take it down. Going to darken it a little bit. And I'll just keep comparing to my photo. You keep comparing to your photo, just getting the value that you want. Going around around that black hole. And I know that it might be a little weird when you're doing this because it is a pattern that's a very unusual pattern. But trust me, when it all comes together and you see the whole tablecloth, it's a beautiful thing. So that wraps up all of our textures. For your homework, I'd love for you to create a fully finished colored pencil painting using any of the techniques you've learned in this class. I'm Cynthia Knox, and this has been Realistic Textures in Colored Pencil.